In 2021, Chelsea were the champions of Europe. 5 years later, they're a cautionary tale of what happens when private equity tries to play football manager with a billion-pound empire. This isn't just a bad run of form. This is a systematic dismantling of a club's identity for the sake of an accounting spreadsheet. This is how Blue Coal killed Chelsea Football Club. You know me, LQ, Chelsea fan, biggest Chelsea fan in the world, and genuinely, hand on heart, genuinely, this club is finishing me right now, as is. Yesterday, we lost to Newcastle United Football Club. Last week, we lost to PSG. We play PSG again this upcoming week, and we have to win by at least 3 goals to have a chance at progressing in the Champions League. Just 5 years ago, we were the champions of Europe. Just 5 years ago, my captain Cesar Azpilicueta was lifting up that Champions League trophy. And if you look at the stat lines, it wouldn't seem like we've had that bad of a time. It looked like we're back to where we were. If you look at the trophy lines, you think we've won the Club World Cup. What is the problem? The problem is sustainable winning. Let's go back to the beginning. Roman Abramovich has ties to Vladimir Putin. We're not going to deny that. He might deny that as much as he wants, but really and truly, he does. He has business ties, he has political ties, he has ties he can't overlook, and the UK government obviously can't overlook. And Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine meant that the British government were put in a position where they had to put in sanctions. But putting in sanctions didn't necessarily mean harming an asset to the UK, harming something so valuable to so much of the population. So first and foremost, Roman Abramovich's assets were frozen and the club was ultimately put up for sale, with the receipts from all the sale going into a frozen account somewhere, probably in some politician's pocket. Ultimately, after some excruciating bidding, after some up and down feeling for Chelsea fans, after some players left, after Antonio Rudiger decided he didn't want to stick around and went over to Real Madrid, an American consortium of Clear Lake Capital, joined with another group of investors headed by Todd Bowley, decided to purchase Chelsea Football Club. It was national news. The entire country was interested to see. Obviously, this isn't soccer over here. This is football. This is something Americans don't necessarily have an affinity to, don't necessarily have experience handling. And usually, American owners don't do well in the British public. But I was willing to give them a chance. We go into the next season. Tommy Tuchel, a manager so beloved by Chelsea fans, winning the Champions League with a not great squad, takes the team for another season in 22-23. We go out there, we sign absolute rubbish. And by absolute rubbish, I mean we sign absolute rubbish. We sign Raheem Sterling, a player who is not that good, really and truly. A player, when you look at it, Manchester City only really let go of players if they know they're past their prime. Really and truly, you see it time and time again. Man City don't really like to let go of players unless they're past their prime. Young players, they might get on and off, but when you've got a player who's about 28 years of age, they let go of him if they think we'll take 50 mil for him. He's not that good. They paid more for him when they bought him from Liverpool than we paid for him when he's meant to be in his prime years. We signed other players, Benoit Badiashile, Axel Disasi. On loan, we got Joao Felix. Enzo Fernandez came in January. But the issue we faced here was that Thomas Tuchel is a manager who likes to do as he wants, not in a bad way. He likes to run the team how he wants to run the team. He will ask for the players he wants. He wants established players, established stars. We saw what Thiago Silva was under him. But Blue Coal said no. Blue Coal said no. It was a death of standards. The venture capital style of going out there, acquiring low value assets, turning it into high value assets and going out to try and sell. They're prioritizing signing 18-year-olds, David Washington, signing these players that weren't necessarily there yet, Andres Santos, signing Esteval, although that came a bit later. The negotiations started early. It was all about taking young players, getting a value from them and selling them at a later date. It became a game of accounting, and Thomas Tuchel wasn't with that. He didn't really want to negotiate, didn't really want to work with them. He said he just wants to go out there and try and win. And so because of that, Chelsea decided to part ways with one of the greatest managers in their history. And then came in one of the worst managers in Chelsea history, in Graham Potter. A man who had as much backbone as a 3-year-old girl. A man who had no experience winning. A man who thought managing a team like Chelsea was the same as managing a team like Brighton. And he was brought in. He would take the players, try and develop the players, try to play an attacking style of football. But the style of football he tried to play was just all completely wrong. Defense was far from attack. There was no real pure tactics. It didn't fit the players that were playing. And so even though the players could drag a win against AC Milan, could drag a win out against Borussia Dortmund, when they come up against a team like Real Madrid, they go out the competition. And by the end of the season, Graham Potter was no longer at the club. That's how badly he performed. And Frank Lampard, a previous manager, the greatest Chelsea player of all time, was put in charge. Now we go through a season of Pochettino, a manager who's not a tactician, a manager who wasn't getting the best out of his players. I guess Cole Palmer played well, but it was the same sort of machine. We were getting hedge fund football. Take low value assets, build their value, sell. That was all it was. It has become a machine. The team is all about squad scalability rather than winning a title. We're taking directors from Brighton. We're taking heads of football that Man City no longer wanted. Signing ex-Man City players is all we seem to do. Signing Brighton players and Brighton staff is all we seemed to do. And then we found ourselves in the next season, in the 24-25 season. We managed to poach a manager who had been part of the academy setup at Manchester City, who hadn't had a great time at Parma, who had just come off a league-winning campaign at Leicester City, championship team nevertheless, but he showed potential in Enzo Maresca. Now, Enzo Maresca seemed like he wanted to win. He wanted to win, he could also develop talent while winning, and he somewhat brought it into the system. 24-25 was not this fantastic season people want to remember it as. However, by the end of the season, we had won the competition we were in, the Conference League, not one of the elite European competitions, but it's a trophy in Europe nonetheless, and made us the only team to win everything. He won at the end of the season the Club World Cup, winning against the Champions League winners, PSG, a team we're currently down 5-2 on aggregate in the final, we're beating them 3-0, and we were in a stable position to proceed. Now, the beginning of the 25-26 season wasn't all sunshine and roses and rainbows. It was not. But we clearly had a manager who could win. We clearly had a manager who was doing the best with the resources that were given to him. He asked for a defender. He didn't get a defender. He asked for more talent. He didn't get established, experienced talent. But we could see he was a manager. We didn't go out embarrassed week in, week out. But because the board couldn't take any criticism, Enzo Maresca was sacked halfway through the 25-26 season. And now, Chelsea Football Club decided to bring in Liam Rosenior, manager who had his best time at Strasbourg, a team also owned by Bluco, a manager who did nothing at Hull City, a manager who hadn't won a career trophy across his managerial career, but seemed to talk the talk. Seemed to walk in line whenever Bluco wanted him to walk in line. I'll tell you a spoiler between me and you. Liam Rosenior is not the level of manager that Chelsea Football Club should have. Liam Rosenior is not the level of manager that Chelsea Football Club deserve. Liam Rosenior is not a European elite manager. Liam Rosenior is just average. Now, I'm not going to talk about him like he's a bad person. I'm not going to hate on him like he's a bad person. He just isn't what Chelsea need to win. And now we're in a position now, many years later, having sold so many players, having bought so many players, having spent upwards of £2 billion in transfer fees, we are in a position now where Chelsea Football Club are 5th in the league. Notwithstanding Liverpool are about to play, and if they win, we'll be 6th in the league. We are on our way out of the Champions League, 5-2 down to PSG. We lost to Arsenal once again in the Carabao Cup. We've got an easy game in the FA Cup quarter-final, but if we come up against Man City or Liverpool or Arsenal, we're not going through. And we're in a position where it's doom and gloom, where everything looks abysmal and horrific to be a Chelsea fan. But what are the main issues we face as Chelsea fans? Okay, so first things first, after I explained all of that, in 2021, I recognised my football club. I recognised as a team that wanted to go out and purchase the best of the best players. We went out there, we got Kai Havertz, we got Timo Werner. Maybe they weren't the best signings in the world, maybe they were flops, but we were out there trying to get the best talent in all of Europe. We were trying to poach them off the likes of Real Madrid, off the likes of Bayern Munich. We picked up Thiago Silva. No, it wasn't old Thiago Silva, but we know what Thiago Silva is. The system has changed. It has become a hedge fund football club. It is buy low, sell high, where it should be buy high, win, then sell, because profit doesn't matter for my football club. I know that at the end of the day, we have to be alliance. We have to somehow make up the bottom line. We have to be compliant with UEFA, with the Premier League, with the FA. But there's ways of doing that without us being putrid. Now the next is the financial death spiral. We thought we were smart. Our directors thought they were smart. Our owners thought they were smart. We thought we were funny. We tried to cheat with having 8-year contracts. We tried to cheat by selling our hotel to ourselves, by selling our women's team to ourselves. Now that might work when you're looking at it from a Premier League perspective. That might work. But UEFA have closed the loopholes. We need to get Champions League football right now. There's no more waiting around. We don't get the Champions League money, we're not going to be compliant with UEFA. There's no need to wait. Our bottom line has gotten worse, even though they have done it in a way where they're trying to make it better. We spent £2 billion. We have £355 million of pre-tax losses. I work in finance. £355 million of pre-tax losses doesn't necessarily mean you're insolvent. It doesn't necessarily mean you have no money. But what it does mean is that UEFA are keeping a special eye on you. What it does mean is you might have broken some rules. And that's not helping us at all. When we're struggling on the pitch, if we're struggling off the pitch as well, how am I meant to connect? How are we meant to win in general? How are we meant to proceed to be one of the biggest clubs in the world? Now, as a third thing, Chelsea has always been the centre of our attention in football. I mean, you can see I'm wearing a Hackney Wick jacket right now, but I've cried tears about Chelsea Football Club. I haven't cried tears about Hackney Wick Football Club. I love you though. We are the centre of attention in the Blue Coast structure. We are meant to be the most important thing, but we're distracting ourselves with the synergy between other clubs. We're distracting ourselves with an interchangeable part of being a globalized portfolio. We are not a portfolio. We are not synergies. We are not projects. We are Chelsea Football Club. We are the goal. We are trying to win solely in our team. I couldn't give 3 fucks about Strasbourg Football Club. I do not care at all. And I guarantee every single Strasbourg fan does not care one bit about Chelsea Football Club. But for some reason, they have to buy into our team. For no reason. For some reason, we have to buy into the players out developing in Strasbourg. You think Kendrick Pires came to Europe to go play in Strasbourg? You think Mamadou Sarr came to Europe to go play? I know he's from Europe, but you think Mamadou Sarr thought I'm gonna go play a lot of time there? You think Andre Santos thought I'm gonna go play a lot of time there? They think they're gonna be developing around experienced winners. For some reason, we keep signing kids. There's no winners in this model, in this system, in this multiple group globalized football portfolio synergy system. There's no winners. They haven't won anything. We haven't won anything. And finally, previously we had one owner. We had Roman Abramovich. Roman Abramovich was the one sole head figure. What he says goes, and whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, whether we should have sacked Mourinho, whether we should have sacked Antonio Conte, whether we should have sacked Carlo Ancelotti is besides the point. But matter of fact, one leader has less disputes than 2 leaders. We're in a current civil war where from behind the scenes they try to make it look from the front that nothing is wrong, but we know Todd Bowley wants to be in charge of footballing decisions. He doesn't own, his group doesn't necessarily own above 30-something% of the company. So clearly, Eghbali has to make the football decisions ultimately. And when it comes down to a vote, if it ever does come down to a vote, the footballing decisions will always come to where the money is. And despite whether the fact that Todd Boehly is the face of Blue Coal, despite the fact he's been the chair for Blue Coal, clearly make the decisions. So my team is rapidly spiraling out of control. We're churning out managers, but none of the managers have had any success. At least previously when we churned out managers, the managers had success, and when they didn't have success, we would get rid of them. The one manager we did have that had any small drop of success and helped us to win this here, the one manager that had that, they got rid of him when he had any sort of disagreement towards them. The micromanagement of the club, we have owners going into the changing rooms. The team is ultimately a zombie squad. We see high-priced players like Mikhailo Mudryk. He is sat out on an 8-year contract, sat out on the bench. You got players like Enzo Fernandez. I guarantee you tenfold Enzo Fernandez, if given the option, would jump at Real Madrid because he knows he has an opportunity to win, because that is all Real Madrid care about, winning. But no, he's locked in on a long-term contract where he won't win. Thank God we have Reece James, because without him, we'd have no semblance of any loyalty whatsoever. For some reason, we're so transfixed upon getting the books right about revenue, about profit, that we haven't thought to care about winning. And where do you think revenue comes from if nobody cares about your damn team? We're only going to be a laughingstock, and people will watch us for being a laughingstock for so long. Without winning, we will not be good. Without winning, we will not achieve. Without winning, Chelsea Football Club is finished. They say no empire lasts forever, but a few fall this fast, and even fewer fall by their own hand. Chelsea isn't just losing games, we're losing our identity, we're losing our fans, we're losing what we are. The question isn't whether Blue Coal can fix what they broke, it's whether there'll be anything left of the club we recognise by the time they're done. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you, man, in a bit.